Patients getting paid. What a concept. If your story's anything like mine, you had to dial back your job or leave it altogether thanks to your chronic illness. The paychecks quit coming, but the bills didn't, right? I spent years weeding through the scam job sites for flexible jobs and scam trainings for how to start an online business. I learned about paying patient advocacy gigs by overhearing someone talking about them on a bus. It's crazy the amount of time, energy, and money I spent trying to figure out how to work for myself or others in a flexible way that could accommodate doctor's appointments and hospital infusions or just not feeling well. Take advantage of my years of learning these tough lessons and get right to how to do it for yourself by signing up for my course, Patients Getting Paid, where you'll learn where to find these jobs and how to put your best foot forward in getting them or how to create your own flexible opportunities. Sign up right now for more information. Go to FUMSnow.com/patients getting paid. Welcome to the FUMS Now Podcast Show, where you'll gain information, inspiration, and motivation for living your best life with multiple sclerosis. Find us online at FUMSnow.com. I'm your host, Kathy Reagan Young. Today's guest is a repeat attender. See what I did there? She's been on the pod twice before, and she always brings us great information and recommendations. She's a very popular guest, so I asked her back, and she said yes. It's Caroline Craven of girlwithms.com, and today we're talking about a subject near and dear to my heart, aging gracefully with MS. Let's see what Caroline has for us today. Hey, Caroline, thanks so much for being here with us today again.
Oh my gosh, Kathy, it is great to be here. It's always fun to be on your show, and we're always covering some great information.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. You always bring interesting things, which is great. So let's talk MS and aging. I mean, what a subject, because I personally have been diagnosed with both. So you're talking directly to me on this one. And before we get going, let me just remind everybody that you don't need to take any notes. I take them for you. There are show notes for every episode. And for this one, you can find them at FUMSnow.com/episode 48. And if you'd like to hear Caroline's other interviews, which were super interesting, you can find them at FUMSnow.com/episode 20 and episode 28. All super interesting stuff. So, okay, let's get into it. You mentioned the other day in the MS Buddy live chat that we co-hosted together. Thank you, by the way. That was fun. That MS can accelerate aging. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think all of us with MS can kind of relate to this accelerated aging. But basically, people in their 50s are often experiencing things that you may not experience until your 70s in normal health. That could be urinary problems, bowel disorders, balance issues. Balance issues, you see a lot of senior and elderly people concerned about that. That's stuff that we need to pay attention to. So we're definitely on I call it an accelerated rate in our aging. So it makes us we have to be very aware, right, of what's happening.
Right. Yeah, good point. I know you suggest a daily routine, but why is that important?
Having a daily routine, it's great for everybody, but it does simplify your life. And as easy as we can make our life with MS, that's going to help us. It takes the stress away. If you get up, you get in a little routine. You brush your teeth at the same time. You take your medicine at the same time. It'll help you be more regular with your medicine.
And remember to take it, because that's where I fail.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Exactly. I know, right? It's how many alerts go off. Have you
exactly. How can I ignore them? I don't understand how I can ignore them like that. I don't even hear them anymore. But I digress. Sorry.
And oh, no, that's great. And exercise, if we make that a priority, and that's the thing too, is that I think by putting it into our routine, we've immediately made it a priority, and then it becomes habitual, a good habit. So if we walk every morning, then we get that done and we can go on with the rest of the day. We're not stressed about, oh, I still haven't exercised. I've got to exercise. I've got to exercise. And that little voice is in the back of your head.
Yeah.
So,
that damn voice.
it just kind of keeps things, I know, right? The committee, whoa, hamsters.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very cool. Well, that all makes sense.
Mhm.
I'm sure like keeping up with our medical care would be among your suggestions too, right?
Yes. And as we were just talking, medicine care is so important, and it can be really frustrating when you have MS. And I know we can get tired of going to the doctor. We can get tired of repeating the same questions, maybe not feeling like we're getting the right answers, or just tired of talking about MS, or for whatever the reason, we may not want to go. But it is so important to go to your doctor and stay up on those appointments. And especially even when you're still feeling good, let them see the good days as well as the bad days, but then let them keep track of it too. And that just helps.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The old adage, hope for the best and prepare for the worst, comes to mind. Would you speak to that idea a little bit?
Oh, you bet. Yes. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I think this always falls into my, you should always have plan A and plan B, and maybe plan C and plan D in your pocket, especially as we're aging. We may think, let's just have a great retirement. I know what I want to do in retirement, but there's a lot of unknown questions with MS. Many people are already forced into medical retirement. So how it's good to, prepare for progression, you may not progress, but at least be aware of it. If you're having troubles walking, maybe don't look at buying a house with a bunch of flights of stairs.
Good idea.
If you're having trouble with balance, maybe not buy the new bike, but maybe learn to do some other exercise. There's a lot of little things like that. But I think as the more aware you become of it, it becomes easier, possibly assisted living, or even just look into services where people come and help. That's a great thing. People well, I don't need full service. I'm very fortunate. I have my family with me, my parents actually, so we help each other. But if I was on my own, I would be calling friends, seeking help. But that gets a little old at times. So go ahead and look up those services and call your city and ask. They'll have a list of services that can help too, and look online, and those can be really helpful.
Yeah, I know in this area I've seen the vans driving around that are like senior services. And even though, some folks might not be seniors just yet, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, preparing for that, right? I would imagine that you could, if they don't help those that are not seniors, I would imagine they could direct you to who does in the area. I guess that would be worth a shot.
Right. And most of those, most of those ride care companies will, if you're disabled, they will come and pick you up. So if you have a reason with your MS that you can't drive or you need assistance, they should be able to come pick you up. And then another option too, for me, sometimes I don't, maybe that's not my option to do the ride car like that, but a ride share like Uber or Lyft could be, is really huge for me. And if maybe those that are driving a lot, maybe get used to try something else. If you feel your driving's getting a little sketchy, check out public transportation, check out the rideshare programs. And I believe Lyft actually has a special program for people with MS.
Oh, very cool.
Which we should,
oh, you know what?
I posted,
Now that you're saying that, okay, so I went to, I can't even remember this conference. It was called FUMS, but don't ask me what it stands for. But Uber Health was there, and I was talking to them, and I got so excited because I thought, oh, great, has this been set up for folks who need rides to their doctors? And kind of that was true, but it was your doctor had to set it up with Uber, and then your doctor would schedule it. So if they, if you requested it of your doctor and your doctor had set this up with Uber, they could schedule to come and pick you up, blah, 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 which is a step in the right direction, but not what I thought it was. But I did just see a press release that Pack Health just signed something with Uber. You know what? I'm going to find that. I'm going to search for that, and I will put that in the show notes, because honestly, I saw it
Okay.
and I just skimmed it. So I don't know what it is, but I do remember thinking, oh, finally, like this is more along the lines of, a patient can
Hmm.
call themselves rather than their doctor. So sorry, that was a little
Yeah. Yeah.
off the rails there, but I did see that. Now that we're talking about it, it just like triggered something for me.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think Lyft might have one
Lyft does
specifically
too.
for. Yeah,
Very
I'm
cool.
pretty sure. So no, that would be great. We'll add those. It's a
Yeah.
great service, And the hardest thing about aging with anybody is your ego.
Yeah.
You
Good
might
point.
start forgetting things more. You might have to wear a diaper pad,
Mhm.
whatever. There's just things you don't even want to think. You were
Right.
not thinking of even
Adding
approaching until you got into your
Yeah.
80s.
Adding
But
insult to injury. Thank you very much, MS.
yeah,
Really appreciate
right.
that. Mm.
And the best thing is to just laugh it off. At least think of the alternative. At
Right.
least you're 6 feet above the ground and you're living life, and just do the
Yeah.
best you can and keep that positive attitude. There's been a lot of research, as you know, about positive attitude, and that can keep you going in aging, illness, anything. So it's always
True.
my little plug. Keep that
Yeah.
smile going.
That's right. Turn that frown upside down. And
Down.
I would imagine, adaptive driving is something that could, if people wanted to continue to drive but needed a
Hmm.
little more help. I know there is adaptive driving, and there's also defensive driving courses that teach you, um, if you're feeling like maybe your skills are slipping a bit. I know that there are courses in that as
Oh,
well. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely.
Um, Well, they say you alluded to taking a walk every day and doing exercise. I know they say the best time to start a health and wellness practice is, about 20 years ago. But the next best time to start is right now. So I imagine that's one of your suggestions for better aging with MS too, right?
It is, absolutely. Having a health and wellness program, it just does. Everyone should have one. They should have
Yeah.
some general idea of what they want to do, where they want to go, what their goals are. And there's so many options, and I'm going to hit on some of the adaptive exercises because people with MS might need that.
Yeah.
But water aerobics, aquatics for people, especially if they're heat sensitive.
Yeah.
There might be a local YMCA in their area or a gym. Yoga, of course, is just so nice and
Mhm.
gentling. You can take hardcore yoga, but I think of more of the yin
Yeah.
yoga for people with MS, calming the nerves, and it
Yeah.
still builds so much strength and balance. And that's just,
Yeah.
that defies age in a way. You see
Right.
these 90-year-olds doing yoga and standing on their head, and you're like, well, yeah,
I know.
but
Yeah.
it keeps
It's
your
amazing.
body so balanced, you know, um,
Right.
and dance, of course. But just dancing for fun, that's a fun way too. Is that if people can think of exercise more of just fun and enjoying life,
Yeah.
um, right? Like strolls. I'm always talk about the mind stroll, where you just go out and just let your body. You're not doing an aerobic walk. You're just
Right.
literally strolling, and
Yeah.
you're just viewing the birds and the flowers. And it'd be like walking down to the fish pond, back in the day. And
Yeah.
you know,
Just
it
noticing.
just we need that. Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Like our
I
minds need that.
Yeah, I tried some Tai Chi too that I really liked that a ton, and that helped a lot with balance, and it was very slow moving and, deliberate and thoughtful, and I really liked
Mhm.
that. And I just today spoke with someone who started a Pilates practice about a month ago. He's had a lot of balance issues, and he has, neuropathy, and
Okay. Yeah.
he said it's been unbelievable, the difference that it's made for him. So, and he said you can really isolate some specific muscles that you might not be able to do in other practices. So, just want to throw that one in there too. And I know that that can be
Oh yeah.
done slowly, and anyway, I hear Pilates is great too.
In fact, I just yeah. Oh, all of that is so. And like what you said, how it slows you down, like the Tai Chi.
Yeah,
You do things with almost more precise intention,
yeah, very
and things are
deliberately.
slow
Yes,
and deliberate, and that's I personally think that's how we need to all approach life and our wellness and our health, and with that same sort of slowness, attention, deliberation. And going back to adaptive exercise, because I just got this little device and I've got to put a little plug in for it, because it's called a Kubii. Maybe it's just Kubii. It's Cubii, and it's a little portable elliptical machine.
Oh.
But like on the ground. And so you put it under your chair, or you put it in front of your chair. You can be watching TV. You just sit down comfortable. You could be in your wheelchair. You could be on any of those devices. And you just slowly start walking on it.
Oh.
And it moves so your feet never leave the pedals.
Oh, yeah. It's a pedaler. Yeah. I've done one of those. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. And it's just very smooth and beautiful, and they have different tensions, and it was really easy to put together. And it was just funny because I got it and I was like, oh, so in the morning I'll do that when I'm drinking my coffee or my tea and doing some emails. But I just started adding that back. It was just 10 minutes a day.
Good idea.
Just because, just something more. We had a hot spell. It was gotten up to about 90 or something, and I just didn't want to go outside and walk. And I thought, well, this is a great way.
That is a
great
suggestion. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the dietary aspect of it all, what we're putting into our bodies and what we're fueling ourselves with. So what are your suggestions there?
There's so many thoughts out right now on MS and diet. I really think the number one thing is just to be as healthy as possible. And that means making sure you're eating a healthy diet that can eliminate any comorbidities like heart health or things like that. Often a Mediterranean diet is a nice place to start. Lean protein, a lot of good natural fats, in the fish and the oils and all that. There's also a lot of things that I've always looked at, and this is like looking into Ayurvedic medicine or Chinese or different theories of food and food energies. And then while this stuff isn't medically tested, clinically tested, I just find it fascinating. When there are certain foods that can cool and calm the body according to Ayurveda or Chinese medicine. So when I'm having a bad MS activity, or say it's super hot, I might go for some of these cooling, calming foods. Which one happens to be like unagi sushi, just happens to be eel, which is interesting, or clams, mussels. Those are considered very cooling and calming. And in a heat wave, once I heard there was a heat wave, or in the heat waves in Japan, often the unagi sells out, and they'll have a shortage of it because people are consuming it for this natural cooling effect. And this is stuff that's not clinically tested, of course, but I find it fascinating. And people have been practicing it for 3,000 to 5,000 years kind of thing. So,
So the anecdotal evidence certainly is there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And then also by choosing healthier food, what you're really doing is you're making the choice, obviously, for healthier food, but then it possibly is keeping you away from eating the bad food. Yeah. The food that might not be so good for you. To me, I focus a lot on a anti-inflammatory diet. So I run very inflammatory. I just have a lot of inflammation. So I feel like I'm always kind of fighting that. Salt. I'm really careful with my salt intake. I like to do my own cooking, so that way I can add my own salt or take it out. Plus, I know where everything comes from. I'm just a big supporter of local agriculture, so I love, grass-grown beef that's grass-fed beef, that's grown within 2 hours of my house, kind of thing like that. I know where it comes from. I do think there's something to be said about that. Eat as whole and clean as possible.
Makes sense.
Again, there are some studies that have come out in favor of, say, the Walls Protocol, the Swank diet, different things like that. The studies have been relatively small. They need to do some larger scale studies, but at least there's a lot of options out there. Compared to 20 years ago when I was diagnosed and they told you to eat, salmon or something. It was all still about the vitamin D, you always want. But if they say vitamin D, we know that vitamin D is good for us, right? That's something we know. So if we can get as much of that, say, in food and sun versus pills, I just think your body's going to access it more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And speaking of pills, are there any supplements or herbs, essential oils, or anything along those lines that you suggest for aging and MS?
Yeah, there's a few that I just love. And I'm going to put in my little ruthless plug for a couple of my pills. But one, I like to fight the oxidative stress in my body. I've got a lot of inflammation, a lot of oxidative stress, just the way I live, the way I am. So I take one called Protandim, which is a plant-based pill. It's got a lot of turmeric, bacopa, trying to think of the name, but a couple of these herbs, and it's designed to fight inflammation from a plant-based source. And this is actually now, Protandim actually has several clinical studies that have been performed, and they show that these all kind of help your neurological care, taking care of our nerves, taking care of our brain, taking care of all of that. So that's one I like to take. The other one I like to take is my Myotin, which is a high-dose biotin. And I know you know that one.
You introduced me to that, and I'm so grateful to you because that one has really made a big difference for me, for sure.
Yep. And I think that does, the same thing. It's like fighting this oxidative stress and these different things that are in our body. I take Visbiome, which is a probiotic. And that is another one that I just think everyone should be on in the world, especially as they age, because this is all about gut health. The one I take is called Visbiome because it is used in clinical studies. You have to keep it refrigerated. But keeping that gut health, I think, is so critical as we age, try to be as preventative. So those are my key things, There's CBD too, of course. The CBD is very anti-inflammatory. And I just think we keep the inflammation down. It's good for aging.
Yeah.
Anti-aging.
True. Yeah. And I have found that most helpful with pain. There's some pain that nothing will touch it, but I found the CBD helps me. It's kind of crazy too. I mean, I do feel a little like I'm losing my mind when I'm in so much pain, and I just take some of that, or I just put some, I've been dealing with a frozen shoulder since April. God help me. It's been awful.
Oh, no.
I have tried everything, and I don't know why I didn't think about CBD, but I honestly did not. And one day I was just in tears. It hurt so bad. And I looked over and there was CBD, and I thought, well, I can't imagine that could get on top of this kind of pain. And I put it on there, and I'm telling you, within 30 seconds, my pain was gone. I said, are you kidding me? This has been sitting here the whole time, and it didn't dawn on me. I don't know why not, but yeah, I'm grateful to hear that it's an anti-inflammatory, but for me, it's a pain stopper. So I love it. Enough good things.
I know, and I'm glad you reminded me of that, because sometimes I often forget, and I'll have a bout of pain, and I kind of forget to pick up the CBD, or I'll forget, not be handy or whatever. And no, it's amazing. And it's very good at helping digestive health too. Yeah. That's where a lot of people can find relief, and we get
truth.
It depends. Everyone reacts differently. You and I seem to react similar to the similar drugs. Yeah.
We can get together and just do drugs together, Caroline. It'd be great.
Right. What are you doing? MS drugs.
Far out. This has been, again, so interesting, as always with you, Caroline. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here today. If people have other questions about this topic, or they're interested in finding out more about you, where should they go?
You can follow me at The Girl with MS across social media. But my blog is girlwithms.com. And just hop on over there. In fact, right now I've got an article on aging gracefully with MS from a guest writer, which is actually, and because there's so much we can do to help us live this life better with this disease. So come on over and girlwithms.com.
Yeah, let me give my kudos to your site, because You're an awesome writer, and you always have something interesting to say on my podcast and to write about on your blog. So I highly recommend everybody get over there and follow Caroline. And she will be back again on the podcast, I'm sure. I hope. Because she has information, and we really appreciate it. So, finally, I know you'll recognize this. Here in the FUMS Nation, we talk to this silly disease as it deserves, and we tell it FUMS every day. If you would, please, Caroline, raise your middle finger in salute to MS and say it with me on 3. Are you ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
FUMS. Woo!
Perfect. That was like a cheerleader. I felt like doing the splits or something. That was perfect. I love it.
I know. I kind of felt like I was at a game. I was like, ooh, go.
I love it. Well, thanks again, Caroline. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Always good talking with you, Kathy.
Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you listening to the FUMS Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to it so you won't miss an episode. You can do that right on the website at FUMSnow.com. While you're there, sign up for the free email list so you'll be among the first to know of any new findings in MS research, new therapies and products, as well as any blog posts and podcast episodes I release. Want to chat with others in the FUMS community? Join us on Facebook at FUMS Now. Thanks again, and don't forget to talk to the stupid disease as it deserves. Tell it FUMS every day.